Sometimes you just look at our sport and it's like absolute insanity. We have one equestrian sport, right? And the FEI just made two different rules regarding if a horse is bleeding for jumpers and for dressage. It's totally different. Like, it is like mind-blown insanity what is going on in the FEI right now. So I want to tell you all about it. My name is Joseph. If you're new here, I like talking about horses and the sport and trying to make it better in an optimistic way. Today is not an optimistic day, though. Yesterday, November 7th, the FEI General Assembly had this huge vote to vote on whether they should change the blood rule for jumpers. And they won. They won in relaxing the blood rule. The thing is, they didn't just win for relaxing the blood rule. They only relaxed it for the jumpers. They maintained it for the dressage horses, which is just like, it doesn't make any sense. Just because it's a jumper horse doesn't mean that it's okay if it's bleeding from the mouth, as opposed to a dressage horse that it can't bleed from the mouth. I mean, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think at some point you have to really turn toward the FEI and question, like, what the fuck is going on here? Okay, so let me get into it. FEI Jumping Rule Article 259, which takes place in 2026. Now, there is no more automatic elimination. This is the headline. If there is blood from the spurs or in the mouth, there's no longer automatic elimination. So if there's blood caused from the tack, it's a jumper recorded warning. And the rider gets 2 of these within 12 months before they get a fine or a suspension. Accidental blood. If a horse bites its tongue, lip, or has a nosebleed, officials can wipe or rinse the blood and the horse can continue competing. They don't even get a warning for this. This doesn't make any sense. So if a horse has a contact issue and the rider is jamming on the horse's mouth, that increases the likelihood. Yes, there are instances where a horse can bite its tongue incidentally or have a nosebleed. And those are difficult things to differentiate, right? If you think about, like, in the NBA, basketball, there are basketball players that are playing basketball, they bump into each other, one has some blood on them, they want to continue going. So they pause the game, they get the blood taken care of, unpause the game, continue on. They wouldn't want to eliminate their best horse. And I guess that's part of the argument of this. But basketball is a totally different sport. Like, if a rider is jamming on the horse's mouth, pulling on a bit, on a piece of metal that is inside the horse's mouth, and causing so much trauma in that area that it is bleeding from the mouth, like, how is that okay? That doesn't make any sense. Sorry, let me get back to the rule. Okay, accidental blood, they can wipe or rinse, and the horse can continue. And then the vet check. So in all of these cases, the vet needs to come approve it and be like, oh yeah, this is just normal blood. And then the horse can continue competing. So, like, the weird part about this is that it takes something and makes it entirely subjective. And that's a piece that I think, yeah, I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, I think if a horse is bleeding, it should probably be eliminated. Like, makes sense to me. Okay, now I want to share with you guys, like, also why this is really weird for the FEI to do, because it's totally different jumpers to dressage horses. Now the dressage rule is Rule Article 430, and that is 0 tolerance. If the judge suspects fresh blood anywhere on the horse will stop, the horse will be eliminated. If the horse shows fresh blood, it's eliminated. The elimination is final. It's just like, it's done. It's clear. But, like, there's no warnings. There's no wipe it off and let's continue. There's no wishy-washy. It's clear. And that kind of makes sense to me. Now, I get it that there's some feeling in the sport that, like, yeah, but what if a horse bonks its leg, like the NBA player, and it was just a bad day at the Olympics, and it's bleeding, and it wasn't the rider's fault, then we don't want to eliminate our best horse or the Olympic gold medal winning horse on that one day. Of course we don't, but like, I guess my question is, it's not NBA, it's not like a contact sport per se, where two basketball players are like bumping into each other, causing blood. So like, there are instances maybe where a horse gets a nosebleed, but like most of the blood situations are either from the contact or from the spurs. There are instances where a horse has like hit in its leg. I think that happened at the Olympics with a US rider, and that like it crossed its legs over and things like that, and that was unfortunate. But that could also be said, like if you really trained your horse to be super calm and super regulated, then it wouldn't be running wild, crossing its legs over, smacking itself, and to the point that it's bleeding. My point is, this is a really fucking important thing. It's not only an important thing, it's in a very important time for horse welfare and understanding the sports and understanding riding horses, and like for the FEI to come out. Well, it's one thing for the FEI to change the rule and be like, oh, I think that this is the reason why we want to do this. That kind of makes sense. But to do it in this way and only do it for jumpers, not dressage horses, that makes absolutely no sense. And then when you think about it, you're like, what money is in the pockets of these people? Like, what are we trying to do and why? And I mean, yeah, I guess I get it. Like I said, the competitive argument of like, we have a really amazing horse and we don't want to eliminate it. I guess the problem is I don't get it. Like, if the horse is bleeding, it should be eliminated. Why can't it just be that simple? And the FEI should have a horse welfare rule that is generated across the entire discipline, across all of the horses. A jumper horse doesn't have different feelings or different standards than a dressage horse. My thing is, this is not an advancement in horse welfare, and this is not a good step from the FEI to make like, oh, we're doing these things to be amazing. It's like, what this looks like to me is like, we have some really wealthy people in our sport, and they want to jump their horses, and they want less like restrictions so that we can just put the cover on and pretend like we're great horse people, even though our horses are bleeding from the mouth as we're jumping them. Anyway, I want to know what you guys think. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And these kind of things, it makes me sad, it makes me frustrated, and makes me think like, yeah, at a time where I really believe in riding horses and the sport, the competitive aspect and the federations that are running these things, like, I would just wish that it seemed like they had a better head on their shoulders, because this is insanity. All right, that's what Joseph thinks. Don't forget to subscribe, like all the video, comment down below, make it go viral. Yeah, we'll see you in the next one.